All right, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of the Mother's Justice Show right here on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Omari Salisbury, known on the streets as the Big O. We got a fantastic show lined up for you today as we have Nyjat Rose-Akins in the building. We're going to be discussing her current role as a King County District Court pro tem judge. And her run is election season. She's running for that elected position. So pro tem is kind of temporary, and elected is like, yeah, the people have spoken. And so, we'll touch base on that. And on that note, let me do a kind introduction here, thanks to producer me, Gil. Nyjat Rose-Akins is a King County District Court pro tem judge with experience as a Seattle assistant city attorney. And a dedicated Seattle resident currently running for judicial office. Her perspective on the criminal legal system is informed by her background as a Jamaican immigrant, HBCU graduate, and former business professional. Throughout her 12-year tenure with the city of Seattle, she has handled criminal cases and civil cases, addressing nonviolent behavior while improving community livability. As a pro tem judge, she is responsible for making probable cause determinations, imposing sentencing, and applying the law fairly while respecting the humanity of each person involved along the way. Nyjat, welcome to the Mother's Justice Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
There we go.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you here. One thing that popped out to me, it says HBCU graduate. Where'd you go to school?
That's right. Howard Bison.
Okay. You went to the real HU,
real. I'm glad you said that. Yes, Howard University in Washington, D.C. Proud Bison.
So for people who don't know, to say the real HU, there's a rivalry between Howard, which is a very prestigious private HBCU, and Hampton University, which is in Hampton, Virginia, also a very prestigious university. So it's always the battle between who's the real HU. And, of course, you're in the studio today, so we rolling with Howard.
I'm glad you said that. Go Bison all day.
All right, good stuff. Man, I read an introduction here about you, but before we get into it, I got lots of questions. As I say, you're running for office. Maybe if you want to tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself.
All right, thank you. So as you already stated, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. That's where most of my family still lives. I immigrated to the United States at 7. My family, my mom and dad mainly, still live in Miami, Florida. So that's where I went to like middle school and high school. Came to Seattle on business after graduating from HU and was here for a couple months and moved back to the East Coast for work and came here for law school. I actually became a United States citizen in King County. So this is the first place and only place I've ever voted. And that's why this community is important to me. So
what kept you? Where'd you go to law school at?
I went to law school. I went to Seattle University.
Okay. And like what kept you here though? Especially like, man, if you grew up in Miami and went to high school there and then you went to Chocolate City, also known as Washington, D.C., then you came out to Seattle on business. You must have been one of them people where it was sunny. You like these people for the World Cup who were like, oh, my God, I got to move here. And then, it rains the rest of the time.
You're right. They got me. My company moved me out here in the summertime, and that was my first time being on the West Coast. Loved it. Fell in love, met my husband here, moved back to the East Coast for another year and a half. And I was like, you know what? I could live anywhere. I could go to law school anywhere. If it doesn't work out, I could move back to the East Coast. And I moved to the West Coast for law school, and he made an honest woman of me. So here I still stay.
All right. Good stuff. Did you envision, is that why you kind of went to law school? Clearly to become a lawyer, but did you envision wanting to be a judge? Has that always been in your trajectory?
Actually, no, but becoming a lawyer was the only thing I've ever said I wanted to do.
Why?
You know what? I don't know why. I started saying that at 7. So at 7 years of age, my parents would tell me that I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer.
That's because you was arguing with them all the time.
Perhaps, because I was an only child for a very long time. So I probably a little bit of that. I loved Perry Mason. This is going to age me, but old school Perry Mason, Matlock. My dad was shot in Jamaica. And I think as a kid, you don't really understand what all of that means or what that is. So I think my little brain was like, lawyers can kind of help with some of that. But who's to say? I mean, it could have been a bunch of things, but there were no lawyers in my family.
Right. And then you worked at the city of Seattle.
Yes.
In the city attorney's office. Well, actually, let me ask you this. What years did you work in the city attorney's office?
I started in 2010. So Peter Holmes hired me.
Oh, yeah. He just left office 2 elections ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So 2021?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember P. Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have liked him, Eric. He was for a lot of good policies from some people's perspective.
He was integral in a lot of things. I think most what he's known for is lobbying for the legalization of marijuana, and I believe he was one of the first in line.
First in line. Like, hey, let's go. All right, good stuff. So, first of all, there's a lot of different layers of judiciaries, maybe anywhere in in any geographic area in the United States, and I think it's important when we talk about here. There's the role that you're running for, the position that you're running for. But so, like here in Seattle, there's the municipal court,
yes,
right? And then in areas of King County, there's the district court, which serves a lot of functions that, like, say, a municipal court would serve.
Mm-hmm.
And then above that, there's the King County Superior Court, right? And then above that is
Court of Appeals,
and then the state Supreme Court, right? Okay. So that being said, if you want to explain it even better than I did, I don't know how well I did, but if
no, I think that's good. I think it is confusing to a lot of people because there are a number of different layers and functions, but King County District Court ultimately does similar things that Seattle Municipal Court does. I think one of the main things that differentiates King County District Court from Seattle Municipal Court is, like, King County District Court does small claims. They also have like civil trials. They also do protection orders. And a number of things like that. But Seattle Municipal Court and King County District Court handled the same type of criminal cases.
Right, and that's where it's a criminal offense where the penalty would be 364 days or less.
Correct.
Right, as they said, a misdemeanor.
And gross.
and gross misdemeanor. Once you get up there to that Superior Court, well,
that's a whole different level.
You might have a bunch of different issues coming at you. All right. So now that we've got that covered, now how long have you been a King County District Court pro tem, and that means temporary?
That's correct. Yes.
Judge.
So I have been a pro tem judge for the last 6 years now, full time the last 3 years. So I left the city attorney's office in 2023 to pro tem full time. And
so. Okay, so I have a question then. So if they're hiring you full time, yeah, you're running to be like, yeah, I mean, this is so, like, basically though, as pro tem too, they can be like, now we're good. You can stay at home this week.
Yeah, basically.
It's job security. Huh?
Basically, but I'm usually pro temming for, like, judges who are going on vacation or going to conferences or whatever have you, and I do it countywide.
Right. Okay. Now, that actually makes sense. And actually, there used to be, like, in the schools in Seattle Public School, there used to be full-time substitute teachers, because there's always a teacher who's doing this or that, call out sick, this and this. So they was full-time and filling in. Now, I know it's a different role, and I'm not comparing the two, but, it's always good for us to paint a picture for the audience.
No, absolutely. And I think, judges and attorneys love to use Latin here and there, but so that's what pro tem means. It's just temporary, but I usually just say I'm a substitute judge because it's just easier to understand.
Talk to the people.
You got to talk to the people.
You know what I'm saying? Talk to the people. So you touched on a few of these things, but I'll throw this question out there. In your eyes, what is the role of a King County district judge? So maybe there's the by the book role and then your interpretation as well.
So ultimately, from the last 6 years of doing this, and I've been in court for the last 12 plus years, I think the role of the judge is to listen. The attorneys come in, they both have their sides. They state their case on both sides. But ultimately, my role is to make sure I listen to all of it, not just one side or the other. Also, my job is to make sure I research and understand the person in front of me. So I'm looking at a case. I need to make sure I read the case. I need look at someone's criminal history so that I have like an understanding of the person that's in front of me, because everyone's different. I was in an interview a couple weeks ago, and they said, what cases are the most important for King County District Court? And I didn't necessarily have an answer, but as I've been thinking about that case, I'm like, every case is important because every case deals with someone's life and how, them matriculating through the criminal justice system and, what that means for them. So ultimately, I think district court judges, you got to listen, you got to be compassionate, you got to be understanding to understand that people are coming to you at very different levels. And, what's happening in Auburn may not be what's happening in Bellevue, but being able to understand, what's happening countywide.
Right. And these are also people, too, in district court that, if found and convicted and given jail time, they're going to return to society and the community in a relatively short amount of time.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes people don't understand that, yes, some people are going to get jail time, and that's just the fact of the matter. But most people won't, because at the end of the day, it's like, how can we return you to be an upstanding member of society? Like, how can we make sure that you are contributing to the best of your ability? All of us don't have the same tools. All of us don't have the same skills, but it's like, are you being the best you, right? So some people, I'm going to give you community service because whatever you did is harm the community. Let's give back to the community. So there's a bunch of different tools we can use in district court that I think can really help and benefit people.
As a judge, what gets on your nerves in there? Hey,
that's a good question. Is
it when you've done your research and then somebody comes in there and they just like, or is it a prosecutor who wants to throw the maximum book at somebody who's like, a small violation of community? Or what's happening? Maybe there's a bunch of things.
I'm easy. Like I get people, so I think that's why I have a good temperament for district court, because a lot of stuff doesn't really rattle me. I feel like I've seen a lot. For me, though, one of the things that I have been processing is I'm here and I'm taking this seriously, and I want you to be taking this seriously. So when people come into court with pajamas on, I'm like, I don't know if you're taking this seriously. I don't know if you're really, we're here because, something has happened. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that you understand the gravity of what's happening here. This is your life.
Do you find that some people come to court already just defeated, already thinking that the system, as the way that it's structured, is there, hey, man, I'm not going to get a fair shake. There ain't nobody going to listen to me. This judge ain't going to hear me. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm here so I don't get fined, literally.
I do when you see it. Like, because I'm a pro-tem judge, it's always interesting when I'm, before the court doors open, I'm already sitting on the bench. And I am who I am, right? I'm going to have some interesting glasses on. I feel like, this is who I am. So I'm a real person, and I want people to see that I'm a real person. But it's always interesting. And I think coming from Chocolate City, coming from Jamaica, which are predominantly Black places, Seattle is not so much that. And when people walk into court, they're always surprised to see me on the bench, like, oh, wow, like you're the judge? And I'm like, for today, yes, I am. Yes, I am. So I have seen that, and I make it a point to talk to the people that come before me. So everyone's going to get a good morning. You're going to get a good afternoon. I'm going to call you by your name, Mr. Salisbury, like, how are you doing? And ask you, because I think what I've observed also as a prosecutor, as well as just an attorney, the court talks at people sometimes and not to them. So whatever I'm saying to you, I'm going to make sure you're understanding what I'm saying. But I think sometimes I see that people didn't expect to be, talked to in a way that, because sometimes I'm like, do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, how much humanity, space, and grace can you offer from the bench? I only say that because, watch these shows like whatchamacallit. He had passed away, Caught in Providence, where the judge is there. Well, I seen it one time. It's like this 90-year-old man. He got a speeding ticket, and he got the speeding ticket because he was taking his 65-year-old son to chemotherapy.
That. Oh, I loved
and he's
it.
like, yeah, man, I'm guilty. But he's like, my son can't work, and I'm out here. The only time I drive is to take him to chemo. And the judge is like, listen, man, I'm gonna work this out for you.
I saw that too, and I love that judge, and I'm so sad that he passed away, but he did good work. I think there's a lot you can do. I mean, people may not agree with your decision 100% of the time, but what I've learned is if you treat people with dignity and respect, and you speak to them and explain why you're doing what you're doing, I think that's far more digestible for most people. Like, I think for most of my time on the bench as a pro tem judge, I think people get it, and they are, acknowledging of whatever they did or didn't do. And if they didn't do it, then we have a mechanism to go to trial and figure it out. But I think there's a lot you can do, especially at the district court level, because as I said, jail's not for everybody, but it's like, how can we help?
Right. Now, for those just tuning in, talking to Nyjat Rose-Akins, King County District Court Pro Tem Judge. So I have a question for you here. Man, is there a difference between justice and what's just?
Justice and what's just. Ooh. Is there a difference? That's a great question.
It's a lot of laws. In the history of our country, we've had plenty of laws that it was the law. But, as time has told it was unjust. It wasn't a fair law. And it's not in today, in the modern era, in today as we move, is there a difference between justice and what's just? Do you ever find yourself in that dilemma that, man, the book, the RCW says this, but is this just?
Is this just? I love that question. So I'm going to say yes, there is a difference, because I think what's just is going to be in the mind and heart of the person who is enacting what they believe is just. So I think that could be everyone's what's just may be different. Versus, I think, justice, ultimately, I think most of us could say justice is doing or that the outcome is what is considered to be fair, in my opinion. So even though what's just we may not have consensus on what is just, but I think ultimately most of us can look at justice being like, was the outcome fair? Would we all agree with it? Maybe not, but was it fair?
Right. And then along those lines, maybe you can give some insight. How much feedback do judges generally, like say in our state or in our county, how much feedback are they able to give to whoever about maybe how just the law is, considering maybe the cases that are coming in, the caseloads that are coming in? We see right now that there are certain situations where the prosecutor, separate from the judiciary, is like, do we charge this? Do we not charge this? A law's on the book, but they're making a decision whether they charge something or not. Is the judges as well, when you're looking at something, collectively, the judges meet and be like, man, this law is this, but we're actually seeing on the human level, it's something different.
And, judges are elected to their specific position, and they have their own, for lack of a better term, fiefdom.
I was about to say fiefdom.
So all judges don't believe and think the same. And
which is probably good.
Which is good, because you get you get a healthy balance of what maybe the community is, right? We're all are not going to agree 100% of the time. So to your question specifically, if judges get together and speak about things, I'm still a substitute, so I'm not privy to, what happens at conferences or whatever have you. But there is definitely...
Or how important is that feedback, no matter what judges are seeing? Because a lot of times we see that sometimes laws are passed with unintentional circumstances.
Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes, judges can't... We're not legislators, right? So we're not to be legislating from the bench per se. But I think judges can, from an individual perspective, make and it's common isn't a good word, but basically based on how maybe they sentence or how they apply certain provisions that could potentially show how they potentially feel about certain laws. But because we are impartial and we can't necessarily comment on a lot of things, because at the end of the day, people want to make sure that they can have a fair shot in front of you, regardless of what the topic may be. So that's why sometimes judges are unable to be specific about how they would sentence on certain cases or whatever have you, because you don't want to have an air that you already have an idea as to how you're going to rule on a certain case, because as I said, all the facts are different. All the people that are going to be coming before you are different. So like every DUI is not the same, even though, the issue is you're driving, you're under the influence, but all the facts are different. So I can't say this is how I'm going to rule on all DUIs because,
because someone who's intentionally went to a bar and got hammered and is under the influence, and somebody might have had a reaction to prescription medicine. They're both still under the influence, but how their route to your courtroom will be very different. And
exactly.
That's what whatchamacallit used to, I forget the name of that show. We were talking about lawyer shows. He used to be like, and also pray to be able to temper justice with mercy.
What was that?
Show, it was one of those courtrooms, it says temper justice with mercy.
That may be along the old school Perry Mason days too. That sounds like an old school show.
Yeah. So how do you specifically, and maybe, I don't know if you hang out with judges in your free time, how do you guys keep from getting jaded? And I know a district court and misdemeanors has one level, and it's some pretty bad stuff that happens under misdemeanors. Mm-hmm. And in the superior court, I remember talking to Judge O'Donnell. It was like, man, everything that comes through there. How do you guys just not be, it's another one of these cases, it's another one of that. It just seemed like, any job, repetitiveness, you know what I'm saying? It lends to something. It's a little bit of things that we let go because we see it time and time again. How do you keep from turning into a machine on the bench or being robotic on the bench because, here we go again? Yeah,
no, that's a great question. And, that's why I've been doing this for the last 3 years full time, because I wanted to make sure this is what I wanted to do. And I do talk to a number of judges, and I guess I have friends who are judges, and it is hard. It isn't. Some days are really hard because you're seeing people at their worst at times. But I think what makes the job really, for me, what makes it really worthwhile and rewarding is that you also see people coming in who've turned their lives around, who, they're in treatment, they've got jobs, they're excited to come and, tell the court about all the good things that are happening in their lives. So that part is why I do this job, because I know that we all make mistakes. And it's like, how do we rebound from those mistakes? So seeing individuals who are able to make a change and to get the lesson or, take accountability and to move on with their lives. So, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Some days are really hard because you're, seeing people suffering from mental illness, suffering from, drug addiction, and people in that space sometimes do not make the best decisions.
Yeah, there's an old saying that every saint has a past, every sinner has a future.
Amen.
And, it's real deal. Speaking of, you just mentioned something that oftentimes you're seeing people on sometimes the worst day of their life, right? So I was at the the Kent Black Action Commission Juneteenth celebration, and I interviewed a police officer who was there. It's a black police officer. I think it's Robinson. And he told me it was important for him to be there on Juneteenth because most of the time the public sees him on the worst day of their life. And he was like, man, I want to make sure that people in Kent, and especially black people in Kent, also see me here in community and as one of their community members. I only say that to you in a sense that, okay, you're ruling from the bench, and a lot of times something's wrong when somebody's coming and seeing you. Are you also active in community away from the bench? Yeah,
absolutely. So I am a 25, aging myself, you're a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, AKA, yes. And so AKAs are very involved in the community. We are big on, scholarship. We're big on helping, families. And we do a lot of stuff in the community. And I'm able to really see firsthand how, providing just a couple weeks ago, we gave out our scholarships for 2 young black women to start their college career. So I'm a member of AKA. I'm also a board member on Columbia Legal Services. And, for me, that really touches home as well, because as an immigrant, I feel like all immigrants should be treated with dignity and respect. And, understanding that, there's a lot of things going on in our society right now, how, some people really feel disenfranchised. So being in those spaces, I hear, real stories and see real people. But yeah, so I definitely still try to be very involved
you're on
in
the
community.
block? Is that what you're saying? yeah, I hear that. I'm just making sure. You know what I'm saying?
I try to be, because I want to understand what's happening in the community. I mean, it's one thing to see it from the bench, but when you see it, in real life and going to, speak to students. I was a judge for the United Negro College Fund students who were preparing to go to college. And this is a good story. So I'm in there and I'm, listening to all of their portfolio projects of these, young students who are preparing to go to college. And this young lady runs up to me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you were my judge." And I was like, "You were not in my section." And she was like, "No, in court." And I was like, so she was in front of me for a traffic ticket months before. And, she remembered me and, ran up to me and gave me a hug. And it's just moments like that, right, where, I'm a big proponent of you just treat everybody with dignity and respect, whoever, you never know who you're going to be meeting. But the fact that she remembered me, and she said that I was very kind to her and really explained everything, because that was her first ticket, because she had just gotten her license. And I was like, "Girl, slow down. What are you doing?" And she, remembered that and was like,
"Look at you, space and grace from the bench." Okay.
I mean, yeah, you.
Listen, I hear you. We're talking to Nyjat Rose-Akins, who is a King County District Court pro tem judge, and she is running in the election. Make it official.
Making it official.
Making it official. We're going to take a quick commercial break. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show right here on 1150 AM KKNW.
Looking for media that truly represents us? Converge Media is where culture meets truth. Seattle's leading Black-owned media network, bringing you powerful stories, local news, and conversations that matter. From the morning update show to groundbreaking community coverage, Converge shines a light on the voices that shape our city, our leaders, our artists, our families. Stay informed, stay inspired, stay connected at whereweconverge.com. That's whereweconverge.com. Converge Media, telling our stories, our way.
Hey, y'all. It's time we take care of what's ours. The Black Legacy Homeowners Hub is now open at the McKinney Center, a safe space to learn, connect, and protect our family homes. Whether you're fixing up your house, passing it down, or just trying to hold on, we've got real people, real help, and real answers waiting for you. So come on by. Drop in between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the McKinney Center on 21st and Jackson. Let's keep our legacy strong, together.
When our children aren't safe, none of us can rest. Mothers for Police Accountability has been standing on the front lines for decades, demanding justice, truth, and transparency in Seattle. But we can't do it alone. We need you, parents, students, neighbors, to join us. Volunteer, speak up, be part of the movement that keeps our communities safe and our voices heard. Visit mothersforpoliceaccountability.org. That's mothersforpoliceaccountability.org. And stand with the mothers who never stop fighting for what's right. Mothers for Police Accountability. Love in action for justice. Being a Black homeowner in the Pacific Northwest comes with questions, and you don't have to find the answers alone. Black Homeowner Magazine is your trusted source for support, education, and community, helping you protect your home, your equity, and your generational legacy. Inside every issue, you'll find real stories, expert guidance, and local resources, all designed to keep Black homeowners informed, connected, and rooted right here in the Pacific Northwest. Because ownership is more than property, it's community. Black Homeowner Magazine, where ownership meets community.
Giving local voices a chance to shine. Alternative Talk, 1150.
All right, welcome back to the Mother's Justice Show right here on 1150 AM KKNW. I am your host, Omari Salisbury, also known as the Big O, depending on what show you're watching, but the same guy. We're being joined today by Nyjat Rose-Akins, who is a King County District Court pro tem, or, as she likes to say, substitute judge, and running this year to make it official to let the people speak and elect her to the district court. And how is that? What is there, like, different positions? Is it position 1, 2, 3, or what do people even look for on a ballot?
Yes, so there are different positions for King County District Court specifically. So you have to run for the area that you live in for King County District Court. So position 1 is a Seattle-specific position. So if you live in, let's say, Shoreline, you can't vote for position 1 because Shoreline has another set of King County District Court judges. But if you're elected,
though, you very well
maybe in Shoreline.
Might be in Shoreline.
Absolutely.
Depending upon the head judge.
Yes.
Is that the way it works?
The presiding. The presiding judge.
How many judges are there in the district court, King County District Court?
I think 25.
25, huh?
Yeah.
What's the workload like?
So, again, I can only speak to my position as a substitute judge in the sense, but it's a heavy workload.
You got a good position, though, because you're substituting around.
Yeah, but, the workload for a sitting judge, because they'll have a bunch of other things to look at and review, because there's cases coming in constantly. So I believe King County District Court is like one of the busiest courts in the state, if not, and it's very, very, very busy. I think over 10,000 plus cases a year. So as I said, we've got, small claims, but then you're also looking at civil cases. And as you know, like during COVID, there was like a huge backlog because of COVID. So it's working through there's a lot of paper. There's a lot of paper. But, you have cases where people they come in like, I need a protection order today. Right. And so the court makes space for those types of cases. But then you've got cases where, people are setting stuff for trial and all of that. So it's motions, so it's constant. And even with 25 judges, they're still inundated with work because there's cases being filed every day. Like every day, someone is being charged with the case. And then you still have those cases that were charged yesterday, 2 days before, and so on and so forth. So from my understanding and, talking to judges and, being in that space, it is it's a heavy it's a heavy caseload kind of court.
Right. Now, how do we ensure the courts are understandable and accessible for everyone? I mean, that's important in a place like King County, which is very, very diverse in all kinds of aspects and cultural background and accessibility, like physical accessibility, language, vision?
I think where we have to start is making sure that people are aware of these courts. A lot of people are not really aware of King County District Court. I've been meeting a lot of people throughout this process, and even before that, they didn't even realize you vote for judges. And it was sad for me because, as I said, I became a citizen here, and this is the only place I've ever voted. But I understand I'm a lawyer.
No, let me tell you, man, civics is lacking. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people who don't know a lot of stuff. Man. I'd be like, how do you not know? But anyways, no judgment.
No, and it's with these types of roles too. I mean, they're down ballot races, meaning there's so many races that come before these district court judicial races. So it's all the way at the end of the ballot, and then it's like, how do I even know these people?
See, what I think that all the candidates that are running at the state level and below, man, need to, irregardless of affiliation or party or anything, and of course, judge is nonpartisan. They need to tell people and reinforce how much local matters. I mean, man, if you want a sidewalk improvement, or you want lighting on your street, or you want, even on the state level, if you want a different curriculum in schools, or if you want, man, all of those things. And right now we have this president who soaks up a lot of the spotlight, and people put so much emphasis there. And it's true that a lot of actions that come out of Washington, D.C. impact our everyday life. Right now we're paying high gas prices. But putting that to the aside, the majority of things that impact everyday life of citizens in this state and in this city and county and across America, those are all local races. And it's crazy how every election cycle people forget about that. And then it's like, man, who you going to call in Washington, D.C. to work on your potholes? You see what I'm saying? These are the people that you elected, and now the elector, in Seattle, the mayor, and now appoints the director of SDOT, and now SDOT is fixing your potholes, with Rob Saka being, king of potholes over there on the council. But that's a local thing, and there's not enough emphasis in people running for office just telling people generally these are things that impact you locally.
No, you said that beautifully, and I think the difficulty is there's so much noise right now. There's so much, so much social media, so much energy coming from, as you said, the federal administration and all of that I think it takes up a lot of space for people that, when it comes to local stuff just doesn't get as much attention. So for this type of race, which is why I'm really trying to just get out the word, meet as many people as possible to explain the importance of district courts and in local elections specifically, because, as you said, these are the roles that really affect people's everyday lives.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's just a real deal. Going down my long list of questions here.
But just in regards to accessibility, though, so I think first thing that's most important is to know who the judges are. Know who's sitting on the district court benches, be a participant and understand that, these are the people who are going to be, adjudicating over your parking ticket and trying to really understand who some of those people are. So participating. Also, I think when you elect good judges, meaning you're informed and you're understanding the judges that are serving your community, then hopefully those are the judges that are involved in community, who know the community and know the importance of making sure that there are interpreter services and making sure that people who are coming before you understand what's happening. Like I've had cases where maybe the case didn't have an interpreter on the case, but from talking to the person, I realized you don't understand what I'm saying. So because I'm talking to you and know that you're not understanding, I'm going to set this case over and make sure that you have an interpreter for the next case, because I want to make sure you understand what we're doing in court.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. And I think that when, like just going back to civics, I mean, there's a lot of emphasis like right now when we say know your rights, I think a lot of people think of ICE and what's happening right now. But like, I mean, for years, the thing is like know your rights. If you get stopped by the police, know your rights, X, Y, and Z. Man, if there was an equal emphasis on just like understanding, like know your civics though as well, and as a citizen here, as you know more, became a naturalized citizen. There's your rights and responsibilities, and man, it's your responsibility as people looked at it. I think that sometimes our system here in America and the way that people navigate through it, they forget that, man, we're all shareholders in this country. You know what I'm saying? Man, you're a shareholder, and the vote is your share. You know what I'm saying? You're a stakeholder here. And we've forgotten all about our rights unless it comes down to, bumping into the police, but also our responsibilities. Yeah, to be an active citizen in this country, there are some things that you're responsible to do, and that's what actually makes us a better country. And I mean, so many times, especially in our communities, all that stuff is glazed over.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I'm gonna steal that shareholder piece. I love that. Like, we are all shareholders, and I think some of us we've bought into the belief that our vote doesn't count. And, as a naturalized citizen, I'm like, my vote counts, and I'm voting every chance I get, because if I don't vote, then why am I complaining?
Yeah, so it's real interesting. I spent the majority of my career overseas. I've been in about 65 countries, probably 25 on the continent of Africa, and all kinds of different places. And man, I've observed quite a few elections, especially in across East Africa and different places. And the one time out of the whole, every 4 or 5 years, depending upon the country, where you find these politicians in the smallest village in the most deepest point, because they know during election season, even the most poorest farmer in the most rural area, he's just as powerful as the big man in the big city because of that vote. And the politicians know that they got to go and cover every square inch because the vote means so much. Once every 5 years, they're equal. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the fervence of like, I'm going to vote. Today, I'm as equal as the big man in Dar es Salaam or in Nairobi or in Kampala. My vote means that much. And it's the passion around the vote. And you're right. We've convinced ourselves that the vote doesn't matter. And I mean, we've allowed other people to brainwash us, and we've brainwashed ourselves. And also here, a lot of times when we're not voting for our own best interest, and we're voting for, when it's a party says this or that, we find that. And for us as a black community, I mean, you went to HBCU, so did I. I went to Elizabeth City State down in North Carolina. And if you visited all those HBCUs there, if you go to Virginia Union in Richmond, or if you go to Virginia State in Petersburg, or Norfolk State there in Norfolk, or North Carolina Central, you find that those communities, them black people are voting because they're seeing that direct result as well. And that's where you find those black sheriffs and these black this and that. I think that sometimes here we don't realize that our vote on that local level, which comes back to you saying people don't know about the district court, that is so meaningful. How do we get people excited about the vote? Like, it's some things we can't control, but the local vote we can control. We can't control the outcome, you know what I'm saying? But we can be involved.
And I think part of that, too, goes to, the judges as well, like being more present in community. I know sometimes it is, I don't want to say concerning, but the fear is like, being there and then not being able to, not to say that not being able to be impartial, but, generally judges want to make sure that they're not overhearing things that may come before them, right? So, they're always very cautious at the things that they do or the things that they go to ensure that they are always able to just be impartial for whatever case that comes before them. But outside of that, I think judges can definitely be more involved in community and be more present so that people do know who they are, and it's not just a every 4 years kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that's real. I've seen over the past few elections that in some cases has made a difference, where just meeting a potential voter now gives them reason to now look through the whole ballot. And he said, "Oh yeah, I wasn't even gonna vote for all that."
No, exactly. I mean, even I'm not in the primary. I'm going straight to the general election. But people are like, "Oh wow, well I'll look you. I'll look you up when the ballot." And I'm like, "I'm not on the primary. You'll see me in November," kind of thing. But the fact that just talking to one or two
aren't
people,
you on the primary?
because I only have an opponent. So only if there's two people,
okay.
You
now,
go
if
straight
there's
to.
three,
If there's three, there's a primary. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, man, people should realize, if nowhere else, people in Seattle should realize the power of the vote. Our mayor was elected by less than 1,000 votes. And it's a lot of people who just made an assumption. And their assumption wasn't my vote won't matter. Well, in a sense, they were like, oh, man, they don't need my vote. You know what I'm saying? This is all good. You know what I'm saying? I know Bruce Harrell's like, geez. Because I know at least 30 or 40 people who just didn't vote. Just didn't vote. They're eligible to vote, had a ballot at the house, this and that. They just didn't vote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was a tight, I think
makes a difference.
It makes a difference.
It makes a difference.
Every vote counts. And again, I think because I lived, as I said, I've been here since I was 7. So being, here for all that time and then not being able to vote. My first time voting was when I was 25. And again, it was still when we had the stations. So I got to go into a library and actually, do the voting in the little booths before we went, full mail-in ballot. So that was just an awesome experience. But yeah, it's so important. And I think we need to, I don't know, as you said, we need to make sure that civics is still, being taught or people understand, but also, promote awareness around these races, these low ballot races that don't get as much attention because it's not as, sexy as the Supreme Court. Not to say the Supreme Court's sexy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it's big names, these shiny objects, on the ballot. You've kind of touched on this, but I just want to ask it in this way. At a time where there's so much distrust in the system, even when you talk about it's mail-in ballot, there's distrust everywhere. A lot of it is manufactured, of course, and then amplified. How do we maintain public confidence in the judicial system? It's a lot of people. You go to the neighborhood, they tell you, man, the system's rigged, bro. Like, why try?
And, that's a hard question because social media is definitely, it's a blessing and a curse. As you said, some things are elevated and, it spreads across the city. But I think for district courts specifically, I think what's important is that, again, it's case by case, right? And you want to make sure that whoever comes into the court, they know or feel as if they were listened to, they were heard, that, that the judge didn't just rubber stamp whatever the prosecutor or defense said. I've had cases where the parties have agreed on something and I've reviewed it and I've made my own decision based on the person in front of me, based on my conversations with people. So I think that's how you build trust. You show people that, when they come into court, that I'm going to look at you. I'm not going to compare you to the person before you or the person after you. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at your case. I'm looking at your history. I'm talking to you. I'm finding out about your job and your family. And I think that's really the only way you can build trust with the community. It's case by case and people feeling that they know when they come before you that they're going to have a fair shot, regardless of what they look like, where they're from, how they present. It's, everyone everyone gets treated with fairness and with respect. And I think when you start there, respect is earned, but I think also respect is given. And if I give you respect when you walk into my courtroom, then, I hope you will do the same.
Don't be in here acting crazy, fool.
I'm gonna set the example. And I have found that has worked tremendously. Like people, I think people, my whole thing is, we can hold people accountable and still be compassionate. Both are necessary.
Yeah, no, that's wow. If you weren't, there's a bunch of questions I want to ask you, but even as a substitute judge or a judge pro tem, in a sense, you're a sitting judge.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I got lots of policies and things like that. I'll save it for another time.
Save it when I win. I'll come back on.
We don't want to jam you up. But I interview so many elected officials, and there's some things they talk about, some things they can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? With Judge O'Donnell, it was a treasure trove of knowledge and information and everything else. But there's definitely some things he couldn't talk about from the recent rulings, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got a few minutes left here. And, man, just to give you a little bit more space on the personal side, don't worry, not too personal. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Man, what do you like to do when you ain't hanging out on the bench, man?
I love to cook, partly because
Jamaica
I love to eat.
Too.
Huh?
I said, and you from Jamaica.
I can cook.
Hello.
I can cook. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm an excellent cook, so I love to cook. And also, funny enough, like moving to the Pacific Northwest, I did not realize I like to hike until I moved out here. And so actually love to do a good hike, especially this time of year where, it's just beautiful outside because we live in a beautiful place. Mm-hmm. Seattle is a beautiful place. So love to hike. I also do a little rock climbing from time to time.
What?
I also do CrossFit, so I do some weightlifting. I did a weightlifting competition pre-COVID.
What?
And I came in third in my weight class and my age for my weightlifting competition, Olympic weightlifting. And I was supposed to go to regionals, which was in Florida, but COVID happened and everything shut down. So there went my weightlifting career, but still do some weightlifting. I may throw my hat into another, local competition.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this.
I may look slim, but I can do some pull-ups.
Come on,
I can do some pull-ups.
Got them hands. You know what I'm saying? Don't maybe put these balls on you. Yeah. So what's that? You get down then on the jerk salmon?
Jerk salmon. You know what? Sure. I would prefer a different fish to jerk than a salmon.
Let me just ask you this: what Northwest ingredient or ingredients are some of your favorite to mix with your Jamaican background and culinary skills?
That's a good one. You know what? I've been thinking, and because as I said, I love to cook because I love to eat. Been thinking I'm going to do a jerk scallop.
Oh, let me know. I love scallops. Listen.
Do a jerk scallop because it'll take on the flavor. And recently I did a jerk rib. So
I'm rocking with you.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we gotta get ready to get out of here. I want to give you an opportunity to say a few words of why people should vote for you and also how they can follow you.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing opportunity. I really appreciate the space just to come and talk and for you guys to get to know me a little bit more. And as we already said throughout this interview, judicial elections are important and district court elections are important because this role specifically is really about the people. Most of us get speeding tickets or a parking ticket or need to change our name or potentially get a protection order for whatever reason. And, these are the courts that most of us go into every day. And it's important to have people who know what they're doing. And I would attest that I do know what I'm doing. I've been rated exceptionally well qualified by 6 bar associations. So I've been doing this for a while, but I also am rated, exceptionally well qualified by the bar and my peers. And, for the last 16 years, I've been working in the public sector as a prosecutor initially and as an assistant city attorney. So I understand the city. I've worked with businesses. I've worked with victims. I've worked with people. And I think that's what's important about this role, knowing people, knowing community. And where you can find me, electnyjatforjudge.com. And same, Elect Nyjat for Judge on Instagram. And yeah.
All right, there it is. We give Nyjat the last word. Man, we're getting out of here. You can follow everything that we do at whereweconverge.com. Big shout out to our producer, Eric, and our photographer, Eric. Until next week, we're out.